Hey, what's going on, everybody? David Jones here, windaily.com with Stix Picks, talking to you about Week 5 DFS. Microphone, test. Can you hear
There
me?
you go. Yeah,
Okay.
now it sounds good.
Okay. Could you hear me before? It just sounded worse.
Yeah, I think it was using your just like actual computer audio instead of the Yeti over there. I think we're good to go.
Yeah, I had to fix that up. Cool. Well, let's do this. It's just me and Nick today. Let's start by going over some of the injuries. There's a lot of injuries going on in the league right now. Stix Picks does a great job with them. So tell us what we're dealing with.
Yeah. All right. For the Bengals, and this is like defense side of things, Mike Hilton and Sheldon Rankins are out. Should be a back and forth game there for Baltimore and Cincinnati. Arthur Mullet's likely out for the Ravens. For the Panthers, Shaq Thompson and Josie Jewell are out. Those are pretty much the only two run stoppers they have. Bills, Khalil Shakir. Texans, Joe Mixon. I think Damian Pierce is still questionable. So if you guys hear anything throughout the next hour while we're on here, share it in the chat. We appreciate that. Robert Woods doesn't matter. But Tank Dell is back for the Colts. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is out. Anthony Richardson is doubtful. So we will see Joe Flacco today. Kenny Moore and Kwity Paye on their defensive side of things are out. So another game that should be very back and forth pending the weather. We'll talk about that. Brian Robinson for the Commanders is good to go. Austin Eckler's back. Browns, it sounds like David Njoku is going to go.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yep.
Nice. And then for the Raiders, obviously Devontae Adams is pouting somewhere else and not playing. Max Crosby is going to play. And I believe Zamir White is potentially a game time decision still. For the Cardinals, Trey McBride is good to go. Kittle, good to go for the 49ers. Packers, Christian Watson out. Romeo Doubs out. Jair Alexander's back. For the Rams, it looks like, obviously no Kupp. And Giants, a big one there is no Malik Neighbors and no Devin Singletary. I believe that is pretty much it. And I'm sure I'm missing a couple other, potentially, seasonal fantasy guys that are questionable. But I don't think anybody on the DFS side that we'd be, making or breaking the slate with.
I was tinkering over here. Did you say anything about McBride?
Yes, in. Good to go.
Okay, good to go. All right, cool. All right, well, what we're going to do is go through quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, maybe a defense or two at the end. We will try and take your questions. Definitely take them in the Win Daily Premium Discord. I know we're having some issues with the YouTube comments right now, so we might not be able to answer all of those. I guess you could tweet us. Maybe we'll answer that, but definitely in the Premium Discord over at Win Daily. Use promo code SICKO to get in. 50% off right now still. I got the shaft. They told me I couldn't change the promo code. So 50% off. We're just giving it away, I guess. Hey, last night went good and bad for me. Nick, thanks for not bringing it up yet.
No problem, man.
So I did win one of the $4,444 tickets for today's Millie Maker. I'm excited about that. All thanks to I don't want to mispronounce his name. Our college football guy. Is it Ivan? Is that how you say it?
Yes, believe
okay.
so. Damn,
right.
You got a 444 ticket from college football DFS, huh? I've yet to ever make a lineup in that sport.
Oh, I love it, man. I kind of just know I'm gonna win. I've been pretty good about the college football lineups, and the way I keep winning, I don't know. I've tried to win 3 of those the past 4 weeks, and I've got a 66% first place rate, so I keep winning them. I just don't stack. I don't care about. I really wish I wasn't sharing this, but I don't care about if my quarterback has a wide receiver, or my wide receiver has their quarterback or running back and wide receiver. I don't care. I just use the value guys and stuff them in there, and I keep winning. So shout out to our college football team. I literally just put the plays that were on his cheat sheet for us. So that was cool. But what wasn't cool, Nick? What do you think wasn't cool for me last night?
Dude, you guys got fucking boat raced by a bunch of book nerds. Do you think did they burn Nashville to the ground last night, or did they all go back and study for midterms after they took down the field goal post? I hope they had a blast. It's that's. And then Arkansas takes down Tennessee, which I'm an Arkansas fan. I guess not a crazy diehard or anything, but my parents got a lake house there, so that's where we go. My whole life, pretty much in the summers in Arkansas. So I'm a Hog guy, but to see both of them lose is pretty hilarious. But I don't know. I was at the bar with my in-laws and my wife yesterday, celebrating some birthdays, and we were watching. I was kind of just keeping an eye on it. I was like, holy shit! They aren't coming. They were in the game the whole time, I guess, but. You would think with 8 minutes left, Bama's going to take over and win, obviously not cover, but win by 7-10 points. And it just didn't happen. And
Didn't
yikes.
happen.
Yikes.
I didn't get to watch the end of the game because I was on Sirius XM for the 2 hours, but I was watching on my phone and we lost. And I just sat there like I couldn't even talk anymore. I just froze up. I was so mad. And then the skinny arm boys of Vanderbilt tried to tear down that field goal post and drag that out into the river. Like they do when they beat Alabama in Neyland Stadium. Whenever someone beats Alabama, they like just destroy the field, But
it's like the opposite of celebrating. Like, oh, fuck all of our facilities. We're gonna burn this shit to the ground. I love that. It's funny.
I mean, good for them. I guess they definitely outplayed Alabama, and that'll be something, that's the only thing Vanderbilt will ever have to talk about as far as a win goes, not sliding them, but good for them. I don't know. I went to school when Vanderbilt beat Alabama. It's like, well, I was there. We won 3 championships, whatever. No big deal. All right, let's talk about the NFL slate. Quarterback. I will bring up too, Nick. I don't think I sent this to you, but I saw that Kevin Roth over at Roto Grinders updated his weather report, and he's expecting rain, maybe even downpours for the Jacksonville game. Have you seen this yet?
Yeah, and that's a game that I'm not like in love with, but I'm very interested in a back and forth one-off, like a Michael Pittman or Josh Downs or Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr. Like Brian Thomas Jr., I said in the podcast, is a core play for me. I think I'm going to keep it that way still. Like, it's not super windy. I think if it downpours, they would just pause the game. It's usually what happens, like when, obviously in Tampa Bay, like that staff does that all the time. If it pours, like they stop the game. I don't really know the history with Jacksonville if they do that or if they're just going to play in muddy conditions, but it's certainly a turnoff. But I don't know. Like, ownership projections for me this week are very, very weird. I feel like there's 3 quarterbacks that are in play to the public, and that's it. And there's like 5 wide receivers in play for the public, and that's it. So I'm interested to hear like your thoughts on that. But as of now, it's going to be a slight downgrade. Like, I did have an early only 3-2 stack Jacksonville Indy with Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, I'm going to get rid of that and probably just bail on the early only slate and take my winnings from last week and just not push it.
Yeah, so I'll read exactly what Kevin Roth put here, so I'm not putting words in his mouth. Indy at Jacksonville. I like the chances of seeing rain in this one. Widely scattered showers and storms will be seen throughout the area, so I'd say that off and on light to moderate rain is highly likely, with occasional downpours possible. Can't really pinpoint the downpours until before kickoff, so we've got an hour 45 to keep an eye on that. It does tick. If it downpours during the game, that's not great. I mean, it probably kicks the running game up a notch, like your Trey Sermons and Travis Etienne's. It's a popular game, though. Like, deciding whether or not we have to fade the passing game is a big deal because a lot of people are going to be on that passing game. Both sides.
And they're so cheap. Yeah, and they're all the key players are like cheap in that game. So yeah, it's definitely a good value spot to go to.
Yeah, well, we got to wait and see. Let's get into the positions. Started us off at quarterback. Who do you have circled for today's slate?
Yeah, overall, I think my favorite quarterback, and I didn't really think a lot about playing him until I did the podcast, was Lamar Jackson. I thought the whole world would play Jordan Love, and I have absolutely nothing wrong to say about Jordan Love. It's a great spot. Brock Purdy, I think, is fine. They have damn near a 30-point implied team total. I'm okay with that. Trevor Lawrence, like I said, probably going to bail on fully stacking him up. I think I'll still be okay with the one-offs, but I think for cash, I'm playing Jordan Love. And for tournaments right now, I'm leading Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow. There's a very high total in that game, and that's one of the only games without a ton of ownership. And I think that, like, with the Ravens, obviously we wish there was a tight end situation that we could trust, but for the Bengals, we know where the ball's going. It's going to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins is only 6K. So I'm trying to get exposure that way. Lamar Jackson has the highest passing prop I believe we've seen so far this season. If not, it is right there where it was on opening night against Kansas City. That is something that I like to keep an eye on. I do trust bookmakers a ton. If they're projecting that much volume through the air with Lamar Jackson, that is noteworthy. And he's also got like a 60-yard rush prop, which is pretty much like the top third of running back projections in terms of player props we're getting at quarterback, and a relatively high pass floor for Lamar Jackson. I just think he's far and away the best quarterback, unless Josh Allen had a full, tank of weapons here, and he doesn't.
So does Lamar Jackson having the high pass prop take you off of Derrick Henry to some extent? I mean, look, he had a huge run. Like he's not going to do what he did. I don't think. Maybe he's Derrick Henry what he did last week. But like you would prefer Lamar Jackson over Derrick Henry, even if salary wasn't an issue, or no?
Yes, and maybe my answer to that is one of each. Like my other lineup will have Derrick Henry, but my main, I think, right now is going to be Lamar Jackson. I do think Derrick Henry could do it again. Like the first thing, Sheldon Rankins is out again for the Bengals. They may be down another defensive lineman too. I got to pull that up, but everybody, Chuba Hubbard just carved these guys up. Like, what is Derrick Henry going to do? And you have the threat of Lamar Jackson. This is the best running system we've seen out of Baltimore in quite some time.
Yeah, sorry about the Chuba fade last week. You didn't fade him. You didn't listen to me, but
no, I did. I did fade him in my main, but in the early only, I don't think I even went back to check that lineup, and it was there. So I was like, oh, cool, nice.
He shouldn't be. I don't know. He shouldn't be able to do that. But it's maybe he does it again this week. I don't know. Bears are a little bit tougher, but it's tougher to throw on him. I'm not on him. The guy that I wrote up as my top quarterback, which I might have to run away from now, is Joe Flacco. I mean, I'm just a little bit worried about the rain situation. Like, I don't want a quarterback in a downpour. I've got a ton of other guys to choose from. I don't want a guy throwing it in a downpour storm all day. Obviously, people will say it doesn't matter. It obviously does, depending on how heavy the rain is. But look, I can get into the reasons why it's good to target the Jaguars and their secondary right now that are dealing with, they've got a bad pair of safeties back there. I think it is they're a little beat up, but not as beat up as the Colts are. It's just a great spot for him. And we know that Flacco's going to have to sit there, push the ball down the field. You're down Jonathan Taylor. So do you want to rely on Sermon? Well, you might have to more now, but I would feel like you probably don't. It's easier to throw on Jacksonville than it is to run on them. I mean, if you look at DVOA, they're 32nd in DVOA against the pass, 11th against the run. So, it just kind of, you take the cheapest quarterback without a running back, you put him up against the worst defense via the pass DVOA, and sounds like a good combination to me. But I was watching some Trey Sermon tape last night, and he's a guy that, the whole industry had a boner for when he was drafted by the 49ers. And
he was a beast in college, man. He was a beast.
Yeah. Well, he was good. And I think, as time goes on, sometimes these players figure it out. And just watching some preseason shiftiness and finding the lane and making cuts, I think he actually looks pretty good now. So I don't hate the play as much as I did before going and watching some of these snaps of him in 2024. But I got to see what's going on with the weather in that game. I did have Joe Flacco. Jordan Love is going to be up there, obviously. I made the point on SiriusXM last night. I don't love the fact that you're down Watson, you're down Dobbs, but he's got people that can step in. Kraft, obviously, had a great game last week. Reed, Wicks, Melton, Heath, I guess.
Bo.
Yeah, Bo. I know you like Bo. So his price is too low. I get it. But what do you do against the Rams? You can throw on them, certainly, but you can also run it straight down their throat. So you got to make that decision. Both the running back and Love are underpriced. I have Lamar Jackson ranked third, and then I have Trevor Lawrence fourth, but he's in the same position as Joe Flacco with the weather, and I'd rather have Flacco than Lawrence. Are there any other? I mean, there's other quarterbacks I can touch on here. Surely, is there anyone else you want to highlight?
No, I mean, in terms of trying, forcing myself to get different in low ownership, if you're someone listening right now, it's I really only like to play quarterback under 5% ownership. Your pick of the litter is probably Joe Burrow or Kyler Murray. And I don't love either of them. I think if I had to, I'd probably get Joe Burrow just because it's a pass funnel defense in Baltimore, and Zach Moss and Chase Brown probably aren't going to get it done on the ground against Baltimore. So I would take Joe Burrow just based on volume alone. We may see him throw it 44 times today.
Yeah, we might. I mean, that's probably accurate. We might, but he hasn't been phenomenal by any stretch of the imagination. The only good game he had was that Monday night game against Washington when Jamar Chase couldn't be stopped. He's had an easy matchup against Carolina last week. Didn't do anything with that. Against New England, he was down, all his pass catchers. I think they're still pretty beat up when he faced KC. That's a good, it's a good secondary. 6,400. Yeah. Take a shot on Burrow, I guess. But if you're playing Burrow, you're just going to stack him up with Chase or Higgins or both? How would you do that?
I think for price, for me, it's T. Higgins.
Okay.
But Jamar, yeah, if I could afford Jamar Chase, that'd be great. But running back paydowns are kind of sketchy, which I'm excited to talk about running backs now. You talked about Trey Sermon. I think that he's certainly in play. But yeah, honestly, like when Joe Burrow is just $100 less than Jordan Love, I think that's something you said earlier this year. Like you're just looking for the best plays, and that has resonated with me pretty well. Like I still will get different with other people, but like when he's just 100 more and Jordan Love is in a great spot, like I'd probably just go there. Otherwise, again, if this is like the only time we've seen Lamar Jackson on the main slate in a total over 42 points and we got pushing 50, it just seems like a no-brainer to go to Lamar.
I'll tell you who's going to have their best game of the season, but it probably still won't be enough. Bo Nix, 5,000 against Vegas.
Dude, the first lineup I built this week was Bo Nix, Brock Bowers, and Cortland Sutton.
Yeah. But see what I wrote
on the total is like 32 points. Like, fuck, I got it. Maybe not.
Well, I mean, you look at his schedule, like it's been terrible, right? Like the Jets, extremely difficult. Tampa Bay, easy. He had a good game, 19.34 points. Pittsburgh, very difficult. And then Seattle, somewhat difficult, I guess, but first game in the NFL. Now he's going into his fifth game going up against Vegas. He gets to do it at home. But I made the point in the article, because I was considering playing Bo Nix, but if you're going to play Bo Nix, you might as well just play Cortland Sutton instead, because he's going to get all the targets, he's going to get the volume, he's going to outscore Nix if Nix has a good day, because they're all going to Cortland Sutton. So I just thought I would throw that out there. Anyone else we want to hit on here? Are there any questions? Can you see any questions?
I can't. I can see them, but I'm not seeing much. So yeah, let's continue on.
Okay, yeah, I don't see really anything over there yet either. So, yeah, I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do in the quarterback space. I think I made that clear. Let's go over to running back. Difficult position, I think, this week. A lot of options. Who's your top guys over here at running back?
My core running back play of the week is going to be Josh Jacobs. I think 6,400 is crazy affordable for the usage that we'll see. Like you said, you could run all over the Rams too. That's why I'm not like super in love with Jordan Love. No pun intended, or I guess, or pun intended, but I get it. But I would just rather have Josh Jacobs at 6,400, and he'll probably be in every single lineup for me. So if he sucks, then I am going to have a bad week. Other than that, paying up, Derrick Henry makes sense. I get it. I think Jordan Mason is probably going to be a very popular guy again for everybody. He's probably fairly priced now that we're seing 25 touches. 7,400 starts to get in that conversation. Is he actually worth it when we don't see him run a ton of routes? I probably would rather have Kyren Williams just because he does not leave the field, and he is their second most targeted player right now. So in the full PPR format of DraftKings, I think I would lean Kyren Williams. I wanted to tell myself I could play James Cook at no ownership. I'm not going to do that. Travis Etienne, it's I don't know. We see way too much. Tank Bigsby. I'm going to be off Chuba this week. 20% of the field's on Chuba. I know he's been in a really good run, and similar to Kyren Williams, gets a ton of work in the passing down game. I do just respect the Bears defense. I'm not sure why. And then at 5,700, DeAndre Swift, I think a ton of people will go back to him because of the blow-up game last week. I do think we see Roschon on the goal line. We saw it last week. And I think what you said, if everybody's getting away from Trey Sermon and the weather's getting worse, I like Trey Sermon. I don't like him, but it's if I had to choose from a chalky-ass DeAndre Swift who's not going to get goal line carries and Trey Sermon who's probably not going to leave the field and definitely going to get goal line carries, would it surprise you if Trey Sermon goes for, 58 yards, but he falls in the box twice because this game does get a lot of volume on the passing game? Trey Sermon has a ton of touchdown equity in my opinion, so I like Trey Sermon.
Oh, man, yeah, the rain will help. And like I said, he looks pretty good. You can just watch this preseason stuff. Looks pretty good. I don't want to play him though. Especially if he's getting popular, but he might be a good play. I'd actually found a way to spend up on all 3 running backs in my DraftKings lineup and pay down for wide receiver, but it might be shifting around after the show. I agree with what you said about Josh Jacobs. I like him a lot. Just going through his weeks, bad matchup week 1 against the Eagles. Week 2 had a great week, 151 yards, just didn't get in the end zone. Week 3, no love. Offense plans changed. Week 4, Packers fell way behind, so he was kind of scripted out of the game. Now he's set up nice going up against the Rams, 31st in DVOA. They've allowed the most rushing yards in the league. You've got the Packers down a couple wide receivers. It sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Now imagine Green Bay gets out ahead, and so they're just playing keep away to some extent. Jordan Love's not having to drive it down the field as much. Josh Jacobs is having a good game. They let him just keep rolling. Double touchdown game for Josh Jacobs, and Tucker Kraft just absolutely shits the bed. That's how I could see it playing out. Josh Jacobs, he's good. Some other guys, like you mentioned, we don't need to go over the big guys. Henry Williams, Mason, like Kenneth Walker. These are high volume guys in good matchups. If you can get them, get them. Like I can't talk you off Henry Williams. Mason, I think the situation might even get better for because now the offense is healthy, right? So you could just be, defenses would be like, okay, look, we've got Brandon Ayuk and Jordan Mason. Let's just try and stop Mason. We still can't do it. Now we've got to deal with Kittle, Debo, Ayuk, Jennings. It should open up even more for Mason. Like, he's still a great play. And Kenny Walker coming off a monster game, 3 touchdowns, gets the Giants. They should certainly be leading here. But how much are they going to be leading? Are they going to use Walker, who is dealing with an oblique injury, when they've got Zach Charbonnet, who's looked fantastic stepping in the fourth quarter? Probably let him run the clock out. It's not going to be Kenny Walker running the clock out.
And they play on Thursday.
Oh, they do? They play this upcoming Thursday?
I think Walker is on a low-key pitch count this week.
Oh, that's smart. I didn't realize that.
But can he score 2 or 3 times? Definitely. But if that game gets out of hand, there is no one healthy for the Giants. I think you're dead on Charbonnet, but it sucks that Charbonnet is like priced out of being considered in a roster at 6,400.
Okay, let's fade Kenneth Walker.
I'm out. Yeah, no interest there.
That's smart. I like that. Here's some other guys. What do you think about Alexander Madison? Tough matchup.
Yeah, meh.
Looks good, though. I think he looks pretty good this year. I made the comparison with him and Tony Pollard. Both looked terrible last year in the starting role. Now look good in look good in 2024. Would
you rather have him or Javonte Williams? Like Javonte Williams, I've always told myself I'm done with just because he looks like he has concrete feet.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to do what I can to get up to Trey Sermon now.
Shit.
I do have Javonte Williams in my main lineup, and I think he is on the playbook as the GPP core, which I may have to update after this. But 5,200 for Javonte against Las Vegas seems interesting, but I've told myself 100 times I'll never play Javonte Williams again, and then here we are this week.
Don't do it. He sucks.
Rustling's got a question here for Antonio Gibson. I think that's more coach speak. Dude, yeah. Gibson can't take 15 carries. I don't think we want to do that. And he's not going to get goal line work. That's going to go to Ramondre Stevenson. Unless Stevenson fumbles on his first or second, drive of the game. I know technically Gibson's starting. Ramondre Stevenson's still a really good runner of the football, and Gibson cannot handle that workload.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be more of like a 60-40 split. I think that's pretty much what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like Gibson will get like the first 2 series. Then what's going to happen is Stevenson's going to come in like a wrecking ball, pissed off he didn't start the game. And, this game's going to feature 100 rushing attempts because it's the only way that either of these teams can move the ball. And then you've got Miami, who's a terrible rush defense. So I think Gibson or Stevenson, one of them is going to probably score, but it's going to be a bigger split than you typically want. And Gibson could fumble just as easily as Stevenson. And then, Gibson, hits the pine. I think this game's going to go fast. And I don't think there's going to be there's not going to be as many offensive opportunities, right? Clock's going to keep burning because, Mostert and Devon on the other side are going to run the ball every play. And Gibson and Stevenson are going to run it 75% of the time. So I'd take a shot if you needed it in like season long, but maybe the $20 Millie Maker, whatever, but nothing big.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What are we doing with Tyrone Tracy?
40 cash games only. I have no interest in that guy in tournaments. I think you take the free square, expect 7 to 9 points. Anything after that is free, and I don't like playing anybody against Seattle, man. Their defense is good.
Because he's going to get – I think they've overperformed a little bit because the schedule's been so soft for them. But look, you're playing the Giants without their starting running back, without Malik Neighbors. Like, what do you think's going to happen? 4,300. He's a guy that I'm scared to fade in the big Millie Maker, like the high dollar one. But I also don't
paid him 100 times out of 100. Don't play that. You can't have a guy have 9 points in that tournament. You find a way to get to like Trey Sermon or something.
Well,
like,
what sticks out. What sticks out for me, Nick, is when I had a run at that Millie Maker that one time, I didn't play the Khalil Herbert, who stepped in and started, and he was like $4,300. wasn't the complete death of me, but I remember you texting me being like, you got to play the starting $4,200 or $4,300 running back. But it's different. Like, he's no Khalil Herbert. I even watched tape on him over at Purdue. He can't run through an NFL line. Like, he's going to have to be wide ass open and find a lane. And he looks like a guy that when he's getting bumped, he's kind of just falling over. Like, he's not breaking tackles. But on DraftKings, the description is converted wide receiver. I haven't really seen any evidence of that. I went back and looked in college, and like he averaged 1.7 receptions per game his senior year. Does that sound like a converted wide receiver to you? Now I know they
sounds like a converted like freshman year.
Yeah, so, I mean, converted from high school, and then he was getting like 10 carries a game in college. For Purdue, like I think he'll catch a few balls, and there's 4-5 points. I don't know, he might get you 9 or 10. I don't think he's getting in the end zone. I
feel like he's a poor man's Michael Carter. And would you play Michael Carter in a $4,000 lineup? I don't think you would.
No, I would not. James Cook, Jerome Ford rounded out for me. Ford finds himself in a good spot with Chubb coming back. Maybe he gets a little fire under his tuchus there. Tries to get going. What do you think about Jerome Ford?
I don't hate it. I think that's another game that's going to be criminally low in ownership, and it would not surprise. It's just I can't keep doing this Deshaun Watson thing. But if there's any game for this one to go back and forth, I think it's this one. I am interested to see the Browns defense. Like Jim Schwartz usually doesn't get his ass kicked on the defensive side of things, and they blitz a ton. I don't know if that's going to be a field day for Jaden Daniels running or if they're going to bottle him up and hit him hard. So I think in tournaments, the Browns defense is interesting to me, but that is a game I fear I don't have enough of, but it's kind of like a personal vendetta. I just can't keep going back to the Browns what sucks too. Cause like the first drive of the game against Vegas, they march down, they score. Same thing they did in Jacksonville when I played them that week too. And then that phantom holding call on Amari's 80+ yard touchdown, which would have smashed all his props and saved that lineup. It just pisses me off. People don't forget, right?
No, they don't. Well, Browns, they put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and Jaden Daniels has been the best scrambler so far in the league by a pretty wide margin. So, I think he can get it done on his feet pretty good, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. I mean, the price is up. He looks great. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. Wide receivers.
All right. Jamar Chase, probably a little too expensive for me. Just how the slate is unfolding. Nico Collins, I'm not going to play this week. The dude gets 15 targets a game, so if you want to, I get it. But last week, like, he was an absolute staple for damn near the whole field, and that's okay. Sometimes if someone's in a great spot and they're a great player, you take it. But Jacksonville just plays a ton of man defense and blitzes a lot, so that is always going to be advantage for the X, the guy getting the hot routes, and that's Nico. We're going to see a ton of zone out of Buffalo. Just don't think this is a ceiling game for Nico, and I do worry about Buffalo being able to put up a lot of points and make this a shootout. Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, is very interesting. I think, kind of talking about it last week, like, I truly believe he needs Trey McBride on the field. Otherwise, like what I said in the podcast last week is, like, you make fucking Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson beat me, right? Stack the box so Connor can't, double Marvin Harrison Jr. If there's no Trey McBride, there's no other threat. So him being there, I think this is a great pass script for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. So I'm interested there. The Tyreek thing, I know some people are on that. I just can't do anything with that offense. So it's kind of a pay down week for me. I really love all these values in the 6K range. I love T. Higgins. He's going to be like sub 5% ownership. Everybody's going to play Michael Pittman. Yeah, I can't tell you a reason why to fade him other than weather. Brian Thomas Jr. is my favorite play on the board, price considered. Amari Cooper's in a good spot.
Same weather game though.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like, I'm not in a happy place right now because I feel like I was set in my lineups, but like 30% of the field's going to play Michael Pittman Jr. I think maybe that is I'm going to trade Michael Pittman and go to Sermon. And I'm probably just going to keep Brian Thomas Jr. because he does have, like, the 80 model thinks he has like a 40% target share against cover 3. And that's all we're going to see from Indy. And Brian Thomas Jr. is a absolute stud. So I'm cool with him. You know, Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk, Zay Flowers, obviously Jaden Reed. We don't need to talk about, like, he is the wide receiver 1 for Green Bay in a really good spot. I think he's very cash viable. Christian Kirk, I'm probably going to be out just due to the weather. I think if I'm forcing anybody, it will be Brian Thomas Jr. You talked about Cortland Sutton. That's a great price. People are going to be very interested in Jordan Whittington. I love him too. Green Bay plays a lot of cover 3, and that's what Cooper Kupp and Puka kind of destroyed, and those are the routes that Jordan's running. So for a guy that's going to get 5 or 6 catches in a high total game, Jordan Whittington makes a ton of sense. You know, we could talk about Wan'Dale Robinson or something like that. It's just more of a cash type of guy for me. Trey Tucker, I'm cool with, but again, that total's so low. And then, yeah, I do think Bo Melton has a ton of upside. I don't think anybody will play him at 3,300. If you want to get different with Jordan Love, just play like Jordan Love and Bo Melton, because then you're building the rest of your lineup differently than everybody else that's playing Jordan Love and stacking him with Jaden Reed or Tucker Kraft or Dontavian Wicks. And you still technically have like exposure to Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed because you're playing Jordan Love. But now you're getting like studs around him because the savings of Bo Melton. But for me, it's like that 6K, you know, that 5,700 up to like 65. I love that price range. And then Debo too. Love Debo against his own.
Would you play Josh Jacobs and one of the Green Bay pass catchers on the same team?
Yeah.
No problem.
Not opposed. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, they have a 27 implied team total. I think you could definitely get 2 pieces to it.
Ian Rappaport tweets that Anthony Richardson is officially out. Commanders RB Brian Robinson is in. David Njoku is in. Damian Pierce is out, as is Evan Ingram for the Jaguars.
Brian Thomas Jr. I'm playing him. Rain or shine, he's in.
Well,
down to 5,100. I guess we'll talk about that too. But
what if that game just goes to shit and it's just like Travis Etienne and Trey Sermon just trading blows in the mud, and it ends the same time as the Patriots game?
That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, let's see. You know, we still have to wait on the weather, so nothing we can do about that right now. If the weather prevails, I do like the Indy guys. Read the article or pretty much listen to any other show this week on why they're in a good spot. Jaguars give up 4th most receptions, 5th most fantasy points. Terrible secondary right now. They should be able to go nuts. Pittman and Downs, and that's probably about it. I mean, maybe Pierce catches a long one. I could definitely see that, but I need the weather to hold up. If the weather holds up, I'm running to get one of those 2 guys. Probably eating the chalk there. If I don't have one of them, I'm definitely going to play Trey Sermon. That feels gross to say. I'm on Stephon Diggs this week. It doesn't really have much to do with the build, like the narrative, what he's facing his old team. But what I do is I just get up and I sort like what kind of coverage they're going to see. I sort who the primary defender is going to be. I sort their target share, and it kind of lines up for Diggs for me this week. So
it does. Zone coverage. Yeah, that's Stephon Diggs, bread and butter here.
So, and he also runs out of the slot, right, for most of his routes. Bills corner slot allows the 2nd worst rate in the entire league for starting corners on yards per route covered at 2.6 yards per route covered, 2nd worst in the league. You've got, Josh Allen was kind of digging at Diggs in an interview a couple of weeks ago. Some bullshit about like they don't want guys that just want stats. Like Diggs wants to have a good game, and you look at Nico, who is uncoverable, but it's not as good of a matchup as Diggs at all. I mean, I'll probably give Diggs the best standalone primary matchup of the week, considering the other guys that don't have the other guys that don't have as high of a target share against other bad defenders. So Diggs is like 6,800 on DraftKings. It's been tough for me to get to him, but I think he has a big game. I think he gets 100 and a touch. So I like Diggs. Packers, we all know Packers are in a good spot. Wicks, Reed, good spot. Your boy Bo, Boyo, is going to be the wide receiver 3, wouldn't you say? Over Heath? Surely he's going to be in there 80%.
Yeah, and they run 11 personnel pretty much all day long. Like, they're not going to change their offense because Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are out. Bo Melton will go right in. And honestly, he's very talented. His player props at 32 receiving yards.
Oh, wow.
It's not like just to see him just come up right away and it'd be that high. Like, I kind of want to lean the under there just because that is very speculative usage, but he could blow up.
Yeah.
Not a core play by any means, just a value like punt.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good punt, though. I mean, who are the other guys? The guys that we're considering punts cost more than him, right? Like, I don't know if you can consider Whittington a punt anymore after, getting the targets that he got last game, but he's like one of those guys. Trey Tucker, I'm going to imagine, I don't even know off the top of my head, is more expensive than him.
Yep.
Tutu Atwell's got to be more expensive than him.
Yes, by a lot.
Yeah, and it's not a I mean it is a very solid pivot from some of the chalk. Other guys that I like are Brian Thomas Jr. I like Kirk too. Like Kirk's slot matchup's good. I know he gets a bump down with the cover 3. I accidentally wrote that up wrong in my article. I said they're going to be running a lot of zone. They're not. But Kirk slot matchup is pretty good. I do like it. Do you like Kirk?
I do. If the weather was clean, I just think then it's a Trevor double stack easy for me with Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr. But I want the upside and Brian Thomas Jr. And if the weather's weird, then I'm just kind of going to let Kirk go this week. But I don't hate it. I think Kirk's more of like a cash game play if you need the 12 plus points. But I think Brian Thomas Jr. can go for 25 here.
DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Amari Cooper. Those are my other top 3 guys. Do you think that Washington's going to do the exact same thing that they did to Marvin Harrison Jr. last week to Amari Cooper, which would be double him, make sure he's not the guy that beats you. You got to beat me with somebody else. David Njoku's back. Okay, maybe it's him. Or is that not what's going to happen?
I don't think they'll do that just because Jerry Jeudy is getting a lot of separation. And I think he could kill him if they just let him go one-on-one, which maybe makes Jerry Jeudy an interesting play this week.
That is interesting. So, like, looking back on it, like, I think you had a great call on what they were going to do to take Harrison Jr. out of the game. But also, and I was thinking about it, but I didn't let it sink in enough before that, Kingsbury knows what to do to get Kyler uncomfortable, right? That's who's coming back and coaching against him. I think that had a lot to do with it. So Washington's still terrible against the wide receiver one. It's Amari Cooper. For whatever reason, I'm a little scared of it this week. I can't put my finger on it. It doesn't make sense. Probably whatever happened to Harrison Jr., who did score a touchdown, by the way, last week. He just didn't drop 30 DraftKings points. A little bit scared. Maybe it's because Deshaun Watson is absolutely terrible. Sutton, Higgins.
For what it's worth, on Deshaun Watson also has the highest passing prop he's had all year. So maybe this is the week we just like Amari Cooper's getting that up to 60 yards already today. So
60 yards, I'll take that. I was going to say don't play Watson.
No, fuck no. I think I'm going to play Amari Cooper.
Tutu Atwell, that rounds out my guys. I put T. Higgins on my list twice. That was good. I was real tired and mad writing this thing up last night. Keon Coleman, Matt Collins, any of these Buffalo Bills guys were interested in here?
Not even a little bit.
Okay. I guess that's it. Tight end. You going to get into that?
Yeah, I think it's tight end's pretty straightforward. Trey McBride's going to have no ownership, 5,900. I think everybody's going to pay down to Parkinson and Tucker Kraft. I think there's a great week. Just make sure you don't play a tournament lineup with those two. Go to somebody else. Go to Dalton Kincaid. I think is my cash game guy at 5,300 because I do think that he'll play at the slot more than he plays in line this week and kind of take Shakir's spot, which is good against his own there. Brock Bowers, 5,500 after a letdown. That makes a lot of sense. George Kittle. Like those 4 guys right there at the top are probably the only guys I'm interested in. I wish I had faith in Mark Andrews, like 4K and how much I like Lamar. Makes a ton of sense for me. Just can't do it. But it's Kincaid, Bowers, Kittle, or McBride for me everywhere. I'm not touching a punt tight end.
Andrews is going to have a couple catches. Like he's not going to go 3 games in a row with nothing.
Yeah, and the weird thing is like Isaiah Likely's not getting a ton of run either. Like these guys, but they're running the ball so successfully. If this becomes a shootout, we have to see Andrews, and he intrigues me from a GPP perspective. But if I'm thinking about like you and the 4K Millie Maker, would I be able to sleep at night putting Mark Andrews in that lineup? Probably not.
Or you won't be sleeping because you win $1 million.
That's true.
Because no one's going to play him. So like who's all right? Who scores more? Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft. It probably like Tucker Kraft's the right answer. I know.
Yeah, probably. I mean, projections wise, it says Tucker Kraft for me, but like game theory wise, I want to just jam Mark Andrews. I just don't have the balls to do it. I
said Mark Andrews is a cold check this week instead of a heat check. We're going to see how cold this guy can stay. What about do something strange for a little piece of change? Brenton Strange. Jacksonville Jaguars?
Don't hate it. If I'm paying down that much, I would rather just go to him.
No Evan Ingram. He's been playing the starting tight end role for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Colts allow 14.7 fantasy points to the position per game. They've allowed 2 receiving touchdowns to tight ends. There's where the 3 teams that they've played before have allowed a combined 2 receiving touchdowns to the tight ends. So Texas, Bills, and Browns, who Strange had to play earlier. Hey, update from Kevin Roth. It poured pretty good pregame in Jacksonville, but the heaviest of the rain around has recently cleared. More scattered showers possible during game time. So poured heavy, field's going to be wet, whatever. Some heavy rain around, but a lot of it's cleared. It's good to know.
So we're good? What does that mean to you?
I guess. I mean, it looks better. I'm looking at the radar. I mean, go follow Kevin Roth. I like Kevin Roth. He has nothing to do with us, but
definitely.
Like, this is from Kevin Roth. Does that help anyone? Any meteorologist out there?
It still looks like rain, but yeah.
It looks like it's gonna rain to me. Comment says Joe Flacco stacks are dead in the water now. Okay. Maybe we got time to figure it out. Let's poke around here. Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
I like Dalton Kincaid.
I just think all 4 pay-ups are such better players than any of the pay-downs. And they're actually like a number 2 or number 3 option in their offense where Parkinson and Tucker Kraft are not. So, no, I'm not interested in the pay-downs. I won't do it.
Dalton Schultz.
I'm okay with that. What's his player prop market at? Like, that would be a nice one to get.
4,100 on DraftKings, same price as Mark Andrews, essentially.
And we're gonna get routes.
You're gonna get routes.
Just 2.5 receptions. Like, has he gotten 4 receptions in a game yet this year? It's like,
I don't know. Let's see. He's gotten 3, 2, 2, and 3 against Indy, Chicago, Vikings, and Jacksonville. 2 good matchups, 2 bad matchups.
I mean, Buffalo does play a lot of cover too. That's a tight end spot if I've ever seen one.
Are we sleeping on CJ Stroud?
Yes, but I'm okay with that. Can't play everybody, man. That's like, he's expensive. I'd rather have Kyler, I feel like, than CJ Stroud this week, just because I do fear Buffalo's not going to be able to score much. Houston's defense is not bad.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, Minnesota boat raced them, but Minnesota's really good, apparently, as you see this morning, too. Like, they're just good. All right. Japan says Dalton Schultz over 2.5 receptions, minus 146. CJ can do it. I don't mind Dalton Schultz. I think that's a sneaky play. That may fit in this lineup I was trying to build, actually. I could play Dalton Schultz.
I'm sure you can. You stacking 2 tight ends this week?
No.
Right. Okay. Let's do our favorite plays. It's a quick show today.
We started late and we talked about college football DFS. Are the contests in college football DFS solid? Like, I'm a big single entry guy. They have a lot of good single entry stuff, or is it all like massive GPP stuff?
I just play, yesterday they had like 100,000 to first. It was like a 555 entry, like, I don't know, whatever the math is on that, 800 people or something in there.
That's not bad.
And just using the guy, I mean, it seems to me like college football performance is pretty easy to predict. You don't have to take a lot of long shots. Like, pricing's broken. I don't know. I came in 19th in this thing out of, I don't know. Let's call it 800, 700. And I just like plugged in the guys that have been scoring recently. Like, it was pretty easy. And then won that ticket. So yeah, I do like college football.
All right. Check it out. Don't know if I had the time,
That's the beauty of it. I didn't have to do any research. I just followed Ivan, and like he had a list of guys. I went and clicked on the names, looked at the guys. Like, he made a good case for some of them, and I was like, okay, that works. These guys fit. Let's play them. And they all scored touchdowns. All right,
here we go. Dalton Schultz has the 4th most routes ran at tight end. Something's got to give. I think that may be the guy this week. I like that.
Okay.
Something's got to give. Yeah. Cover 2. It's the only time he's really seen cover 2 this year coming in. All right, Dalton Schultz.
I mean, I like Diggs a lot too, though. And Nico sucks up all those targets. You got Tanky Dell back.
I mean, if we're fading one of the really good, like the 4 tight ends at the top, like everybody is just playing Parkinson and Kraft, like the only thing we need to survive is Dalton Schultz to score a touchdown. And that's kind of what happens at tight end. It's a fucking wasteland these days anyway. I like Dalton Schultz. All right.
Quarterback. Who's your favorite quarterback?
I'm going with Lamar.
Yep. I don't hate it. But who are you going to pair him with?
I'm not. I'm just going to run it back with T.
You're just going to play him naked?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Dude gets 28 fantasy points a game and it's 10% owned. Yeah, give me that.
Okay. I guess as it stands now, with the rain kind of clearing up, I'm still going Flacco. I mean,
you're doing your 4-4-4 lineup with Flacco?
I think so.
All right.
Like, I wish I would have been doing that at the end of last season, right?
Yeah, I mean,
quarterback's been a bit of a wasteland too. Let's not act like that's been a fantastic money maker. So, I mean, what do I need to do to get 20?
Yeah.
In Lamar to not get 40? I mean, I don't think Allen's going to go nuts. Jackson's good spot. Sure. Expensive. Stroud, pretty good spot. Daniels, tougher defensive matchup. Kyler Murray, tough defensive matchup. Jordan Love, that's good, but I want to play Jacobs. Burrow hasn't looked great. Purdy, good spot. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with Flacco. You can talk me off of it.
No. You're good. If that's what you're doing, I'm okay.
Okay, that doesn't sound
I don't love it, but
would you rather play Flacco or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence. Just because he runs. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll get off that. I respect you, and it doesn't feel comfortable, but boy, you can do a lot with Flacco at quarterback in that lineup.
Dude, I think if you like Cortland Sutton a ton, and I don't hate you playing Bo Nix in the 4-4-4 and just getting studs everywhere.
Yeah, but I like my point with that again is like you can just play Sutton and get all his production, right? Like it's not like I'm double stacking Bo Nix.
Right. So, but Bo runs. Bo can get a rushing touchdown. He's 5K. That's interesting.
Yeah. All right, running back. Who's your favorite? Like 1 or 2 running backs.
Josh Jacobs all day.
Yeah.
Favorite play on the slate. Kyron, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, if no ownership every time I refresh this goes away from Trey Sermon, I think I'm okay with that. I do think that's excellent leverage off of a 50% Michael Pittman and 30% Josh Downs.
Oh yeah, but his ownership still has to be relatively high, no?
Sermon? I see it at 5.
No way.
Tyrone Tracy, everybody's going to go there. Alexander Madison's now going to get a little bit of ownership. Javonte Williams is going to get a little bit of ownership. People still love Chuba. People can't play everybody, and they're not going to play Trey Sermon.
Okay. Yeah, that's.
I never thought, like, even last night, there was no chance I was playing Trey Sermon. And then I read that weather, and then, like you said, it's going to be a little bit sloppy. And I was like, well, the total's high. Both these defenses suck. He could get 2 touchdowns, and not going to do shit on the yardage side of things, but he can get 2 touchdowns.
I'm kind of with you on running backs, dude. I have Jacobs and Kyron written up here as my 2 favorite ones. Behind him are Henry and Mason. And like, I know they're they're higher price guys, but like, I can't act like, I'm just not going to pick some shitty player just because he's cheaper. Like those are the guys in the best spots. Right. So those are the ones that I'll be playing, and you can build with them. It's not hard to build with them. If you want a weird guy, Jerome Ford.
I think Jerome Ford's a good spot.
I'm not playing him probably because I'm making one lineup, but I think he's got an opportunity. Might have to go play Sermon. Shit. Wide receiver. Give me whoever you want. How many?
Brian Thomas Jr. for the value up top. I do fear that Marvin Harrison Jr. could be the guy that breaks the slate and does get 14 catches. But up top, give me Debo.
Oh yeah, okay.
Zone killer.
Yeah, no, he really is. He's good. Is he going to be a little limited today, you think?
He wasn't limited last week.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good answer.
They were giving him jet sweeps already last week, so if he was banged up, they would probably avoid that type of the playbook for him.
Aaron Rodgers limped off the field today.
He looked bad what I was
That's
watching.
where you just laugh. Sauce Gardner evaluated for a head injury. Hey, it's going well in London. All right, let's see. My favorite wide receivers are. I'm gonna have to. Hey, look, I don't know. I'm gonna have to say Jaden Reed. That's pretty clear. I'm gonna go with.
Wrong about that.
I'm gonna go with Chalk Colts. Have to. It's in a good spot. I can't act like it's not. I guess like a lower owned guy would be Stephon Diggs. Pretty high on Diggs. And I think Sutton gets 102 touchdowns today. What do you think about that?
Then I feel like you should just play Bo Nix and say fuck it and win $1 million or finish dead last.
See, that's not how I think about it. I think about it getting in that, getting over that.
Min cash is okay for $8,000 or whatever it is.
I'll cash I'll min cash the 4-4-4-4. I have no problem with that. The quarterback matchups aren't like great either. Like they've got good corners on the Raiders, surprisingly. Would you agree with that or no?
Not really. I mean, Cortland Sutton's going to be inside and out. DeCameron Richardson's out. He's probably the best one. But there's no pace in that game.
Yeah, that's true too. That's also a good point. And no offense. Tight end, who are you going with?
I guess. I mean, the 4 pay-ups, I like them all, but I do think that the Dalton Schultz was a sneaky call that I do like. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and whoever's in the chat mentioning that too.
All right.
I wish it was Mark Andrews, man. If there's any week for like how my slate is unfolding, I wish I could stomach it. I just can't do it.
Let me look at something real quick.
Yeah, fine. Give me a reason to play him. But for $100 more for the 4th leading route runner in tight ends, I mean, he's pretty much just running wind sprints, though, because he's not getting targets, but Dalton Schultz.
More Andrews. Nothing. I think he's going to catch a few balls. I think they'll try and get him. Like if they're down there in the red. Well, here's the thing: you're down there in the red zone. It's like, why don't you just give it to the train in the backfield, Derrick Henry, and just score like 100%.
Yeah, I don't think they're in the business of like narrative squeaky wheel gets the grease stuff because Mark Andrews really isn't even talking about it. All he keeps saying is like, I'm healthy. It's just we're winning games. So.
Well, what they're saying is like they're going to have different game scripts where Mark Andrews is more involved, but the matchup so far, it hasn't been that. I mean, you think about week 1 with the Ravens, like everyone was like, oh no, Derrick Henry's not getting the touches. What's going on? It's like, well, that wasn't the script for that game. Right. Turns out 3 games later, he runs for 200 yards and he's, better than he's ever been. So it's a good coach with Harbaugh there. Maybe, I don't know. It's not a squeaky wheel thing. Maybe it just lines up for him good against the Bengals. Does it? Does tight end line up good against the Bengals? Let's look.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah. I mean, none of these numbers mean dick for tight ends anyway.
They run a lot of, since he runs a lot of man coverage. So yeah, good luck covering Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely with the linebacker. Like those guys can still, that's what the Chiefs tried to do, and Isaiah Likely fucking killed him.
My strange guy is going to be Brenton Strange at tight end. If I like, because that's who's in my build right now because I couldn't fit Thomas Jr. and Kirk. It just wasn't happening because I jammed in 3 stud running backs. And so if I'm fading those 2, Strange makes sense to me. So I'll go with Strange there. I don't think he's going to go break the slate. I think he'll keep me alive, which might not be the best way to do that. Maybe I'll mess with it a little bit. You didn't bring up your boy Mike Gesicki. In or out?
Out.
Theo Johnson.
I mean, if there's any week, this week, I guess, makes sense. That's a decent punt.
No neighbors. Theo Johnson tied in for the Giants. All right. That should do it for us. Anything else you want to say?
No. Well, a question. Amari Cooper or Pittman?
Well, it's a tough.
I feel like the tournament player in me, and my choices, I could go to Trey Sermon here. It's like the tournament player wants me to go Sermon, say fuck Pittman. Play Amari Cooper, and the rest of my lineup is beautiful.
Is Dan Campbell going to have the defense rolling now? Are they going to do the same thing they did against Harrison Jr.? Is it going to rain in Jacksonville? Like there's a lot of up in the air things going on there. I can make a case for both. I mean, that's probably like, how am I supposed to pick out of the, it's like 2 of the top 5 positions on the slate. Like it's tough to rank for me for wide receiver.
That's fair.
Different prices though, right? I mean, are they close?
No, 6K and 62.
Well, I probably wouldn't leave 200 on the table and not play Cooper would be my answer.
Nice. I like that.
I guess. All right. That's the show. Appreciate everyone watching. Hop into the Win Daily Discord if you have any more questions or to check the article updates or to see Stix Picks cheat sheet. Is that what we call it? What do we call it?
Playbook. The
playbook. Go check that out. Go check out my article. The Sunday update will be up shortly. If I decide to get off Flacco, or I'll just drop it in Discord. Promo code Sicko gets you 50% off. It is cheap. You can pay by the week, the month, the year, whatever you want, and you get everything. You get the bets. You get the college football picks, which is what I won a lot of money on yesterday. You get it all. You don't have to buy a single package. All right. Alabama's terrible. We should have lost to Vanderbilt. We'll see everyone next week. Bye.